Untitled-2 podcast. My name is Connor.
My name is Ash.
And today's a very special day, Ash.
Is it?
Do you know why it's a special day?
It's not your birthday.
It's quite far from my birthday.
It's not Christmas.
Well, it's close.
Is it the day that you give over all your earthly possessions to me?
That's it.
Yes.
It's an anniversary for a game that you enjoy.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Soggy biscuit.
We're going to get nowhere. So it's the anniversary of Uncharted.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, 10th anniversary of the first Uncharted game. 10 fucking years.
That's insane.
That is really
if
crazy.
you go back and play now on the PS3, you don't look like a 10-year-old game at all. Maybe like 5 years.
No.
Because like graphics have jumped quite a bit recently.
Yeah. But isn't it insane to... Because like the other day, it was the 10th anniversary of fucking Super Mario Galaxy.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Seems like the end of the year is like the time for all the good games to come out.
Yeah. So it makes it kind of apt that I'm wearing my Sick Parvis Magna ring.
Yes.
From Uncharted.
Do you think because Battlefront 2 comes out soon that's going to make it a really great game? The fact that all the other great games...
I don't know about that. No, it's already out. It came out today. That's why everyone's complaining about the...
Everyone were complaining because of the recent beta, I think.
Oh, right, okay. So, on the topic of Uncharted, we found out a cool thing. Was it yesterday? About The Last of Us?
Yes.
So, there's been some new research into the real-life Cordyceps virus, which is what the Cordyceps in The Last of Us is based off of. Which is... for those who don't know, I can't imagine how you couldn't know because it's like the craziest thing on the planet. There's these fungus that attach themselves to ants, and then the ant basically becomes a zombie. So
there's other insects as well that it works on.
I think it's more prominent in ants. I don't know.
I think the one that everyone talks about and the one that you see in all the documentaries is the ant one, but it doesn't. It does infect a lot of other species as well. Just thankfully not humans yet.
So it grows a tiny stalk out of the back of its neck. Yeah. And then it makes the ant climb exactly 25 centimetres
the stalk
off the ground.
After that.
Well, right, okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, it makes the ant climb exactly 25 centimetres off the ground, where it will use its mandibles to cling on to whatever it's climbed.
Yeah.
And never let go. It just dies there and then releases spores onto the whole colony below. And they all get infected, and it just carries on like that. But the new research was in how it actually works. So it sends a network of fibres into the ant's muscles, and then basically marionettes the ant by controlling its muscles. And the obvious conclusion to come to is that it takes over the ant's brain and controls it through its brain. But that's not true at all. It actually very precisely goes around the brain and leaves the brain alone, which means the ant is conscious and aware of what is happening to its body and aware of the fact that it cannot control it. Which, when you then think of The Last of Us and how there's all these people that have been infected with the Cordyceps virus and they're actually still conscious with it trapped within their own bodies. Yeah. And it's really interesting that turned out to be the reality because there was a character in The Last of Us who actually said to Ellie, what if all those people are still alive in there, trapped inside their own bodies? And then it's real. Yeah. That's just crazy.
I read as well that some types of cordyceps don't grow anywhere near the brain, but what they do is each cell gives off a chemical which prevents the brain from sending out signals and stuff like that. Yeah. So that it can't communicate with the rest of its body.
It also... communicates with other ants that way.
Crazy thing is as well, sometimes ants in the colony will recognise that one ant is acting erratic, and so they'll all band together and they'll drag this ant somewhere else and leave it for it to die.
Well, there was a new Kurzgesagt episode, which is a really great show. If you've never seen it, you should definitely search for it on YouTube. Good luck with spelling that.
Just sound it out.
Yeah. About ant colonies and how all these stupid things come together to become this very smart thing. And So they actually give off pheromones of what job they're doing. So you'll have like a scientist, a soldier, a gatherer, and 2 other things that I can't remember. And those will give off pheromones. And then when they meet each other, they'll basically smell each other to find out what the other person, the other ant is, what their role is. And if an ant goes for a certain amount of time without ever, like say a soldier ant never smells another ant that's a gatherer, he'll change role and he'll give off a different pheromone to say he's a gatherer, and then go and start gathering.
Wow.
And that way they keep like an equal balance of job roles within the colony.
It's insane.
That's so crazy to think about.
Nature's like so intelligent, but also ugly and scary sometimes.
Yeah. So speaking of horror, Stranger Things finished a while back.
Is that accurate to say? Because it gets all loaded in one upload.
Well, yeah.
But it's probably safe to say that a lot of people have binged it by now.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we can talk about certain things. Oh, for fuck's sake, I need to mute my phone. Great job, Connor. Okay, so yeah, Stranger Things was it was great, wasn't it?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Episode 7 wasn't great though, I don't think.
Why is that?
Because of the ugly fucking group that she goes to meet up with.
Oh yeah, because you first introduced it to them at the start of the show, and when I saw that, I was like, oh no, I get the whole 80s vibe, and that is like, and basically all films in the 80s were about punks and gangs in cities and stuff, but I really liked what Stranger Things already is. Well, I really like what Stranger Things already is, and it's this little village that's dealing with problems, isolated from if it was on a citywide scale, it would be such a different story, and it just wouldn't.
I like it because the story is quite big. You know, like there's a fucking tear in a dimensional fucking gate that we don't know ever existed or can really see, and there's this massive threat coming out of it. So it's like a really big story, but they tell it through a very personal, small,
exactly.
Side stories and stuff like that.
There are quite a few people in this village, but we keep them out of the story. Like even in season 1, there was that girl who died.
Barb.
Yeah, Barb. We didn't even see her parents.
Do you know that was her first acting role ever?
Yeah, she didn't do so bad.
A cinema, and there's this whole social campaign online, like justice for Barb or something like that. And so she ended up getting really like famous because of it. And everyone kept showing up at the cinema where she works and asking if she was working that night, so they could obviously get an autograph and shit like that. I think she got like nominated for an Emmy or something like that.
Oh, that's great.
Some award. And I think she's quit a job and she's gonna pursue it full time.
Oh, that's really cool. Good for her. But yeah, as I was saying, her family weren't in it. They didn't need to be in it. They would have broadened the scope of the show if they put them in it. And then second season, Stephen and the girl whose name I can't remember.
Steve and Nancy.
Yeah, Steve and Nancy. Yeah, they were struggling with that concept, and obviously that's when it's appropriate to bring the parents in.
I feel like Steve was handling it much better than Nancy was.
Well, it's Steve will be Steve.
Steve, soccer mum Steve. I love how it was there were his kids and he was protecting them no matter what.
Yeah.
I really like
his redemption. Like he had a second wave of redemption, and it was really good.
Yeah, I guess you could see it like that. It was more like he had his redemption in the first season, and this season it was just they gave us more reason to like Steve.
Yeah,
how he protected the kids and his little like big bro sort of relationship with Dustin. That was really nice.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, they brought that back for a second.
Steve was like one of my favourite characters. I like Steve.
Yeah, he's
I really like Hopper as well.
Hopper is just an incredible character.
Do you know David Harbour, who plays Hopper? He's playing Hellboy. They're doing a reboot.
Oh, that is amazing.
Apparently, right, he's like just fucking piled on the muscle or something like that.
Oh my god.
I'll Google this thing of him. I don't know how much of it's prosthetics and how much is actually him. But he looks like he's fucking proper beefed up. It's insane. But yeah,
I can't imagine how cool that's going to be. The original Hellboy movies were good and everything, but Ron Perlman's not the greatest of
No.
people in general. Let's see this picture. Because he's kind of chubby, isn't he, in the show? He's like a... Wow.
Yeah, like, I don't know how much of that is prosthetics or...
That's crazy.
Because his arms are proper thick there, aren't they?
Yeah.
I don't know, he might have done that, though. I don't know how long ago he filmed Stranger Things 2.
Yeah. And all the material around it as well, because there's no way you can do that in a few weeks.
No, yeah, so he must have been training for a while. But then they do have specialised trainers and stuff in Hollywood that specialise in, bulking up fast.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that because I like David Harbour as an actor. I didn't know about him in anything other than Stranger Things.
Yeah, same.
But I'm quite excited to see what he's doing next.
I'm so excited about him being Hellboy because, like I said, Hellboy are really good films, but they just needed something a bit more.
Yeah. I hope what's his name, Guillermo del Toro. I hope he's still directing that. I like his brand of like monster horror stuff.
Yeah, he's a really good director.
But yeah, one of the reasons Stranger Things like speaks to me on a personal level as well is that it takes typical 80s movie tropes and like reverses it.
Yeah.
So like what's his name? Bob. Just Sean Astin plays him.
Oh,
like
he's such a cool character.
Was a typical 80s movie.
Yeah.
He'd just be the the goofy like stepdad nerd, and his arc would never reach anywhere.
The way it did. Yeah.
And obviously Hopper is the fucking story's hero.
Yeah.
But because he didn't know basic, Bob had to step up and be the hero.
Yeah.
And he just went for it. They just flipped it on its head. Like you would never expected that character to do something as heroic as that.
Yeah.
I really liked that because we're obviously that like are we going full spoiler mode?
I just
Well, that moment, I'm probably gonna, I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
It should have been Hopper because he's the typical hero, and that's kind of what they do.
Although I'm glad it wasn't.
I'm glad it wasn't, but it would have been a really, even if it did happen, though, it would have been a really good scene, and I would have really liked the emotional impact.
Yeah.
But because obviously no basic, Bob stepped up, and then Bob ended up taking that moment, and it made it really impactful, and I like it.
Yeah. Well, he does like to share the load. So speaking of movies, we were speaking of movies. We were talking about Hellboy and
Stranger Things, yeah.
Yeah. I recently watched Whiplash again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I watched it. I made Candice watch it, and we were both really stressed because we've had a really shit couple of weeks.
Puts things into perspective.
And I was like, let's watch Whiplash. It's a really good film. It was a bad idea at the time. Because it just made her even more stressed, but I really enjoyed it. I absolutely love that film. I can't appreciate it in the same way that you would, being somebody who's musically minded. But it's one of two films in the whole world that can that I have a genuine emotional response to. That is like, it can take me from a place of being like just genuinely really lazy and being like, oh fuck life, to just like jumping up and being like, right, fuck this, I'm gonna do a new project, I'm gonna do something cool. And the other one is Limitless.
Yeah, I was gonna say Limitless.
Yeah, Limitless always gets me pumped to just be motivated, and I am a really difficult person to motivate. So just to have those two films, to know anytime I could go watch one of those films and then just fucking crack the whip on myself.
Yeah, for like all of a week maybe.
Yeah. Well, I didn't do anything with the energy I got from Whiplash.
It's not difficult to motivate me. It's difficult to keep me motivated.
Yeah.
I can gear up to do something amazing, and as long as like something keeps reminding me of what I'm doing, or if something just keeps the momentum going, I'll complete it. But I don't think I've ever had something that's that perfect to keep me going, and so I just end up procrastinating like a motherfucker.
Yeah. So Whiplash is about a kid who is in music college, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a freshman, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he just he's inspired by a great drummer. No, he's not even a drummer, is he? He's a great musician.
No, he's
a drummer. The story that they keep repeating about the guy throwing a cymbal at his head, that's not a drummer. So he's really inspired by this guy, and he's like, I want to be one of the greats, and he sacrifices everything to be one of the greats. He sacrifices his humanity, he sacrifices his love life, he sacrifices his health, like drastically sacrifices his health. I'm going to say spoilers because it's like 4 years old now.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, shame on you. So he's got this tutor called Terence Fletcher,
played by J.K. Simmons.
Yep. And he's this. He's clearly some sort of sociopath, mate. He tries to motivate people by putting them under extreme pressure. It's not motivating them as much as trying to bring out the best in them.
Yeah.
By putting extreme pressure on them and to test how willing they are to become one of the greats.
Exactly.
And it just so happens that he bumps into this kid who is willing to become one of the greats.
Yeah.
And it progresses to the point where they've got this big concert to do, and he is adamant that he's not going to fuck anything up. But he does. I think something happens with his bus's tyre pops or something, so he rents a car.
Yeah, and then he gets into a big car crash.
No, he gets there, and he's talking to the tutor, and he's forgot his sticks in the car.
Yeah.
So he goes out to get them, but they're not really in the car. They're at the place where he rented the car from. So he rushes over there to grab his sticks, and then rushes back, but gets hit by a truck because he's on the phone to somebody who's at the concert telling him to hurry the fuck up. And that just fucks him up, basically. He tries to draw him even though he's covered in blood and his clothes are all torn. And it's just a really powerful scene. Yeah. And then he just sort of gives up after that. The tutor tells him to fuck off. And then a woman approaches him to say, we know what this tutor's been doing to people. Somebody's killed themselves because of it. Yeah. You need to come out. We can help you take this guy down. So he does. And Terence Phillips gets fired. And so in the meantime, he's got a band, and they're still playing in concerts and stuff. And the main character, I can't remember his name.
Miles Teller.
Miles Teller, yeah. He bumps into Terence at a bar, and they drink together, and Terence suddenly changes to be this friendly guy, and you're like, oh, he's redeeming himself because he realised what he's done, and he's just explaining, I was just trying to push it to be the greatest, and I didn't want things to get this bad, and all. Just being this genuine, nice guy.
What's his line that he says a lot is like, there's no two words in the English language that's more damaging than good job.
Yeah, that's a really great line.
His whole ethos, his whole modus operandi is fucking is kind of true. He just went the wrong way about it. No one ever became great by just coasting through. You've got to experience all these setbacks and all the torture and pain to become truly great. So he did have a good idea. It's just he executed it a bit too harshly.
So just as they're leaving for the night, he says to Miles Teller, I've got this band, my drummer's not cutting it, and we're using the playlist that I was using on the course, and all the sheets, you've got them memorised, so would you like to come play with me? And he says, eventually he says, yeah, okay. And he goes to the show, and he sits down, he's really excited. It's a big show, there's lots of important people in the crowd, and his career could go so far from that. And then Terence Phillips turns around and says to him, do you think I'm an idiot? Do you think I don't know it was you that got me sacked? And then it turns out they're not using any of the songs that he learnt. So effectively, Terence is trying to make sure that he can never ever reach greatness because of all these critics that are in the crowd that are going to see him fucking up. And he does his best to play along with the band, but he can't do it. He doesn't know the song. And then he just sits there for a moment. He leaves at first, and then he bumps into his dad, and his dad says, too bad, kiddo, let's go home, or something like that. And that's a moment where he's like, no, fuck you. I'm not going home. I'm not just going to give up. So he goes back on stage and he sits back down and Terence is like, what the fuck are you doing? And then he just starts drumming. And the cello player, no, the bass player, and sat next to him is like, what are you doing, man? And then he just says, oh, we're playing this song. I'll time you in or whatever. And then it plays like the last 15 minutes of the film is just this incredible musical experience where he's just going all out on the drums, and the music is great. It's just this really emotional experience where like Terence slowly starts to realize, holy shit, you are great. And then the song ends. And Terence tries to end it in like 4 different ways that a jazz band would end a song, and then he comes over and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's like, "Keep going. We'll do Whiplash next." And he's like, "All right, okay." And then there's this huge drum solo that's like 5 minutes long, and then the band kicks in for the Whiplash for the end, and then the film just ends with this huge drum solo, like this massive flourish at the end of the song where the trumpets keep like blaring every now and then the track ends. The crowd goes wild and cheers, and then Terence looks at Miles and smiles and is like, fucking hell, I've found the greatest drummer. You see Miles' happiness and joy in that moment, and then the film just ends. There's no exposition after that. There's no fucking pomp and circumstance. The film's just done, and it's just amazing. It's such a great point to end the film because it doesn't wind down from that emotion. Like, it builds up all this emotion and then it just cuts.
Yeah.
And there's no like, cool down period or anything like that. It just leaves you, and then you're just staring at the credits, and just you've got all that time to reflect on it, the 20 minutes that you've just experienced this incredible musical thing.
It was a really good conclusion. What I really liked about the last segment of the movie is when he goes back determined to carry on playing and whatnot, Terence like leans in to say like, I'll fucking end you or something like that, and he hits the cymbal and it makes him back off.
Yeah.
I really just kind of
that's really cool.
I'm doing my thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that because obviously music's my biggest passion.
Yeah.
Which is probably a good time to segue into our album of the month, if you're alright with that.
Yeah. So let's add a little exposition to this. We're going to start doing these segments each month.
Yeah.
Not each month. Well, each week. But we've got 4 segments, and each one will come out monthly. So we'll have album of the month, game of the month, movie of the month, and then like a series.
Yeah. Or if we come up with a better one for the 4th, then maybe.
Yeah, we've got 3 weeks to think about it.
I think we should start off with album of the month first, so that everyone's got like a whole month to experience the album.
Yeah, plus our segue does onto it really well.
And obviously because I'm the musical nerd and you're not, it's basically up to me to choose every month. So if people listening to this, if your musical taste doesn't line up with mine, then I guess you're fucked. But this month I want to start off with an album that recently celebrated its 10th year anniversary, and it's a really special album for me because back, I think it was like 2009 that I first heard of it. It was back when I was like heavy into like metal music, and I was like, if someone came along and was like, oh, you listen to this, and if it wasn't metal, I wouldn't give it the time of day. I was a proper dickhead with it. And then I listened to this music, so I was already in a frame of mind where I was starting to open up to other genres, and I found this album, and it blew me away, and it just completely like opened up my musical taste for like pretty much anything.
Yeah.
And that album is Untrue by Burial, which it's like it's technically like dubstep, but like not how we view dubstep now with all like the throbbing fucking bro step shit. It was like pretty much what's like started off. Like people keep saying like it's one of the most important dubstep albums because it like changed the way the whole genre sounded and stuff. And what's really important and amazing about it, that blows me away every time I think about it, is the guy, Burial, made the whole album in SoundForge, which isn't intended for making music. It's like just sound editing, so like for sound effects and stuff. So there was no, you couldn't quantize your drums or anything like that. You couldn't keep your drums in time. There was no, timeline at the top or anything like that. Because obviously in like Ableton, you can time your drums perfect.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Everything's on beat.
So he had to do it all like by ear and stuff, which is why his drums have got like this really nice, like rolling quality. Like, they sound like they're swinging and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he was also massively into Metal Gear Solid, and so I think the track that is more obvious is in I think it's Near Dark. It's like near the beginning of the album. He sampled the sound effect for a shell, casing from a gun hitting the floor, and he put that into the drums and stuff like that.
All right.
But like the whole album is like 98% samples from everywhere. He must have done a massive dive on YouTube, and he sampled a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
And it's a really nice album. It's not upbeat. I wouldn't say it's upbeat at all, but it's very calming and like kind of melancholic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely give that a listen this month.
I gave it a little listen at work the other day, but I've not really been able to, because I used to listen to podcasts and shit at work and music and everything, but work's been so crazy lately, I just can't bring my attention away even for a second. So I only listened to like the first song on there, first track rather, but I'll definitely give it a listen. Like the explanation you just gave sounds incredible. Speaking of music taste, I have a story that I keep meaning to bring up on the podcast, but I keep forgetting about it. Like this happened months and months ago, but
yeah,
it happened before we started the podcast actually, and it was
quite a while ago.
Yeah, it was one of the things. Like I remember before we started the podcast, you were like, "Oh, let's let it breathe for a little while longer," and I was like, "No, I've got so many things I want to talk about. We need to do a podcast soon before I forget about them all." And this is one of the ones that I forgot about repeatedly. So I was once waiting for the bus on the way home, and it drove past me, and then I had to wait for the next one, and then the next one came past with an out of order sign on it. So I'd already been there 2 hours.
Yeah. And
I was like, okay, fuck this, I'll ring an Uber. So I got an Uber, and this little tiny guy sat in the front, and he looked way younger than me. So I got in, and he was like, "Oh, do you like music?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh yeah, what kind of music you into?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm into anything really. I'm an easy guy." And he turned to me, and his eyes widened with this huge smile on his face, and he went, "S Club 7." And I thought he was joking, like, "Oh, you're into all kinds of music. What about S Club 7?" So I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Awesome." And he put one S Club 7 song on, and I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll listen to one S Club 7 song." Soon discovered he had the entire discography on a multi-track CD player, a multi-disc CD player, and I had an hour journey back home with nothing but S Club 7.
Jesus Christ!
Oh, but this guy loved it. He was singing it. He was like dancing around while he was driving. I was like,
man.
How is anybody this into S Club 7?
That is painful.
Especially a guy that looked that young. Like, he must have been like 3 when S Club 7 came out.
Jesus Christ, I cannot think of anyone who would be that into S Club 7. It's like my dad, he grew up in a time where a lot of great music came out. Like, the whole psychedelic rock scene was like ripe when he was growing up in his 20s and whatnot.
Yeah.
And his favourite music's like pop. I've never met a guy his age who likes pop music. They're all into like Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, all that shit, right?
Yeah.
He can't stand any of that. He just likes pop music. He likes whatever the radio tells him he should listen to.
Yeah.
Fucking likes Enya.
What's that?
Enya. End of one of the Lord of the Rings movies. There's that song that plays.
I don't know.
It's really awful. It's kind of like...
It felt like you were leading me into a joke there. You know, when you go, "Oh, I really like Nunya." What's Nunya? None your business.
Really likes Enya. What's Enya? Enya can fuck off out of here. It's kind of like pop choral, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's awful. Okay. It's really boring and shit.
Okay.
He likes Madonna, Michael Jackson, fucking... So yeah... it don't surprise me that the guy liked S Club 7, but I can't imagine people liking it that much.
Yeah. On the topic of people from the past, I was looking out of the window in our living room, and as you know, you got a great view of the city from there. You can see all sorts of people going past. And there was this guy who looked like he was straight out of the 80s. Like, he had the whole 80s look, like the ridiculous trainers, the ridiculous hair.
You realise you were looking in the mirror.
Tracksuit bottoms and shit. Thank you.
Tracksuit bottoms.
The ones with press studs down the side.
The ones where you can, like, rip off easy.
No, but I had a pair when I was a kid. I never understood it because, like, it was still fastened at the hip, so they weren't, like, stripper joggers. But, like, you could just open them up, like, all the way up to your hip.
Yeah.
But why? What purpose did that serve?
I had a pair as well.
But yeah, he was wearing those. And he was looking around like he was really confused, and he walked up and down the same street, like, trying to find something for ages. And I just sort of went through this thought process in my head, like this thought train, and I was like, what if he's actually from the past? Like, what if that guy down there, I'm looking at a guy who's from the past, right? He's travelled through time, he's from the past. And what a waste it would be if I didn't go down and find out if he's from the past and then get caught up in this whole time travel adventure. And then I was thinking, you know, if that actually happened, what if he's just a really unpleasant guy? And I was like, fuck it, it doesn't matter if I'm missing out on the opportunity of a lifetime. I don't want to deal with this guy. I'm going back up to my apartment. Like, I don't know, would that bother you? Like, you knew there was a guy who could time travel, but he was just this really unbearable guy, and you just didn't want to have any part of it.
I don't know. Some people must like it because, like, there was a whole show about it, Doctor Who, man.
Yeah. So you just, like, go back to normal life and be like, oh, well, time travel's possible, but I'm going to go to work tomorrow.
I'm just picturing him walking around town like, I'm sure I put the 80s around here somewhere. Where's the 80s?
Well, no.
Misplaced it.
After a while, I think he found what he was looking for, because he full-on sprinted across the road towards Tesco and started raiding the bin. So I was like, oh, he's not from the 80s, he's just homeless.
What if he's like, he lost a transmitter that fell into the bin? What would you do if, right, if you just seen him?
What if his DeLorean is fueled by trash?
What would you do if you like just, you know, like fucking wrote him off as a, you know, hobo, and then like you just hear this fucking look around as a police box disappearing.
Well, yeah, have you seen the new telephone boxes in town?
I have not.
They're not actual boxes anymore, but they actually says telephone box on it. It's telephone box for a new generation or something is what it says on it. But from the back of it, it's this huge screen, like a full-on digital screen with like adverts playing on it and stuff.
Yeah.
And the shape of it and like where the logo is, which is a circle, it makes it look like an iPhone.
Okay.
And that's like they've made a phone booth that looks like a smartphone.
Okay.
It's just I don't know, something about that concept
is, there
is
an
a little
actual
strange.
phone on it, or?
Yeah, it's on the other side of the screen. There is like a little shelter that comes over, so I guess the phone don't get pissed on or something.
It'd be really cool if you just had to type in the number you want to contact on the big touchscreen surface.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's like a video conference call.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. That'd be
you
true
can,
in
like,
the future.
tap giant hand-sized apps. Look at porn on it in the middle of the street.
Playing Angry Birds. Like,
So, speaking of 80s...
yes.
I recently saw a film which had heavy 80s overtones, and that was the new Thor.
Yep.
It is a really, 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 really good film. Like, it might actually beat Guardians of the Galaxy as one of my favourite films.
Ooh, that is...
Like, I'd have to watch it a few more times to come to that conclusion, but I enjoyed it a crazy amount. Like, it was so cool.
Oh yeah, I've not seen it yet.
Yeah, I really just want you to see it so we can talk about it. I don't want to talk spoilers or anything. Like, it's only come out recently, and I'll probably wait till the Blu-ray comes out and talk about it then. And but yeah, just to let you know, it's an awesome film. It's like really good. There's some really good concepts in it. Some really good visual design, special effects, and the story's actually pretty good. Yeah. For a Marvel film, it's not like cut and paste.
Well, it's the third Thor movie, so third time's the charm.
Yeah, 3's a lucky number.
Because the first one was boring. Second one was... I don't know. I didn't.
I liked the first one at the time, but I feel like it was one of those generational things that just doesn't last very long, and then you go back to it and it feels dated already, sort of thing. But yeah, speaking of superhero films, I recently watched Wonder Woman.
That was
I usually buy my dad superhero films when they come out, but I don't buy him DC films because they suck. But he actually said to me, "Oh, I really want that Wonder Woman. Are you gonna get me it for Christmas?" And I was like, "Oh, you actually want it?" And he was like, "Yeah, it looks really good." And I'm like, "Pervert." So I got him it, and then usually he won't watch the film until I come over to watch it with him, which is like 2 weeks after he gets it, but he'll wait anyway. So I went to his house, and it was like, "Are we going to watch Wonder Woman today?" And I was like, okay. It was a very silly
Had you
film.
not seen it before that point?
No, never seen it before that.
Have you had people tell you it was okay, though? It was good?
I'm going to tell you now that it wasn't good.
I know, I've seen it as well recently.
But it was okay. Compare it to Batman vs Superman or Suicide Squad, and you can see that DC are going in a good direction. They've clearly ripped off like 99% of the first Captain America film, and that's all we kept bringing up.
Yeah.
But there were some good things in it. There was a lot of bad things. Like I said, it's a very silly film, but I feel like if it wasn't so silly, and it would have been a worse film. Like, because the way as we've talked about before, the way I decide whether a film is good or not is the experience I have while watching the film. Like The Room, I think that's a brilliant watching experience.
Yeah.
So for that same reason, I actually quite enjoyed watching Wonder Woman with my dad and my girlfriend, and the experience we had, like making jokes and laughing about it and how silly it was. But if it wasn't that silly, and they'd actually made more of an effort to make it a good film, I probably would have enjoyed it less, and then I would probably say it's a shit film.
Yeah. For me, it was just like there was scenes littered throughout where I was just like, well, that's stupid, that's bullshit and stuff. Like,
yeah.
The very first one was when the plane crashed on the island, and there's like supposed to be a barrier there, so people don't see it, but you can see through the barrier, and you can see the island through this like shimmery barrier thing. I'm like, what the fuck, Zeus? Do you not like? Do you know anything better than that? Like, this is supposed to be protected from mortals. Yeah. The second scene happened like almost immediately after that. It was a slow-mo scene. Oh, by the way, how much fucking slow-mo was in that movie? Zack Snyder didn't fucking direct it. But someone shot a bullet, and it was going in slow motion. I think it was traveling past Diana, and there was this woman in the background who like was jumping towards the thingy, and the bullet and her were traveling at the exact same speed. I'm like, what? I know there's supposed to be gods in that, but what?
Yeah. Oh, that's something that I didn't like about the film. I didn't like it even before I even watched the film.
Slow-mo.
No, the fact that they're supposed to be Amazonians and they're just an island full of supermodels, basically. There's not a fucking ounce of muscle on that girl.
She's extremely attractive, right? I'll give her that, right? But I'd have made her work out a lot. Yeah. Just any bit of muscle she could have got before she started filming would have been brilliant. But she didn't at all. She was like, at one point, right, I thought there was a string hanging off her coat, but it was just a fucking arm.
Yeah.
It was that she proper skinny arms and shit, and it ruined the whole thing for me. I knew I wasn't going to like it when they announced her years ago.
Yeah. There is actually a scene in it where she's getting shot at and she runs at him with a round shield in front of her. Yeah. Like, exactly like Captain America.
But that was a really cool scene, like visually speaking.
Yeah. Captain America's silly for the fact that he has this tiny shield and people shoot at him and they somehow can only shoot this fucking shield. Even worse than that is in fucking Wonder Woman, she's got these fucking bracelets.
Yeah.
And deflect the bullets with those.
I didn't like that as well, because like the fight scenes, you can just tell, right? Obviously, I don't know anyone actually. Some people might not know about special effects and like how movies are filmed and stuff like that. So they might have honestly thought like, I don't know, it looked okay, but she was just waving her forearms around.
Yeah. And then they had to add in the bullets later about where they were gonna go. Yeah. Like, yeah, that's very true, because sometimes she wasn't even holding them in front of herself. She'd, like, extend her arm out and block a bullet, and it's like, it wasn't going to hit you anyway.
Exactly. It was a cool shot if you're 12 years old, but fuck me, man.
Also, there's a big twist in the film where the protagonist turns out to not be the other protagonist. You know what I mean? Well, it doesn't matter anyway. Nobody fucking cares. So Ares is the main villain.
Yeah.
God of War, Ares. And the whole time, they're trying to convince you that it's this Russian... Not Russian. Is he Russian?
No, he's German.
He's got a Russian name. Or German. Okay. Well, it's this guy who looks like a villain, talks like a villain, acts like a villain.
He was also a villain in Wolverine.
Oh, yeah, true.
That movie that we shall not talk about.
So, he's the obvious candidate for God of War because he's instigating a war. And so the whole film, they're like, oh, it's the God of War. But there's one scene where you're first introduced to Professor Lupin from Harry Potter. Yeah. And he says something about, we've got to keep the peace thingy intact or whatever. And I was like, he's a God of War.
Yeah, and if that one indication enough for you, there's a scene where they're making a phone call to that.
Yeah, and he comes over and he's like, what are you talking about?
No, it's not even that. Like, it's that girl's talking, the girl who they obviously couldn't get Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
So they got this other woman instead. And yeah, she's taking the phone call or whatever, and then she walks off the camera, and the camera is still panned on him, and he's sat in the background.
Yeah,
looking,
exactly. Yeah,
and it's like, oh, this is like part of the movie where the movie's like, pay attention, people. Like, can't we just make shit up ourselves?
Yeah, exactly. So that is the part where I was like, that's definitely God of War. But before that, when they first introduced him, because I knew they would try and twist something about it. So throughout the whole film, I was looking at people and thinking, could he be God of War? Could he be God of War? And there was that guy sat at the war table with a stupid mustache, the British guy. And he was like, get that woman out of here and all this shit. So my first thought was, oh, it's that guy. But then it turned out he wasn't in the film at all.
You just
except from that bit, prick. Yeah. And then the other person that was introduced in that scene was Professor Lupin.
Yeah. It's in movies like that, right? It's always going to be a well-known actor.
Yeah.
Which is why in 7, I don't know if we should say his name because of all the shit that's flying around at the moment, but Kevin Spacey told the director and then not to credit him in the movie at all because people would know it's him.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, poor Kevin Spacey, man. I mean, he probably shouldn't have done shit like that. There's been so much shit that's come out recently.
Oh, well, as you called it the other day, Rapocalypse.
Rapocalypse, yeah.
Where just everybody is coming out as raping someone or having raped someone.
No one's safe as well.
Yeah, I know.
Naughty Dog is, yeah.
What? No way.
Some guy was working for Naughty Dog. Apparently someone sexually abused him as well, and Sony and Naughty Dog acted like nothing happened.
Oh.
Who knows what happened? They contacted a bunch of employees and stuff, and they all said the guy was, visibly depressed and all that near the end of his, his employment. But no one has said they've heard anything about it or anything like that.
So one of the guys who works on the Naughty Dog team, I can't remember his name now. He came from Bradford College.
No way.
So he's recently left Naughty Dog, and I saw Neil Druckmann post about that on Twitter. Oh, goodbye, great to have you in the team and all this. And then a week later, my tutor contacted me and said, oh, we're having this game developer in for a seminar, and I thought you might be interested because I know you're into video games. And I was like, all right, I'm probably not going to go, but yeah, go, shoot, tell me about it. And then he said the guy's name, so I Googled him. And then I was like, oh my god, that's who Neil Druckmann tweeted about. It's from Naughty Dog. So obviously I wanted to go, but it was during college hours, so obviously I was at work, and I have no holiday days left, so I couldn't take a day off to go to it, but I wish I did. How cool would that be to meet somebody who worked on the best games? Yeah. I wanted to say something. Oh yeah, talking about people being harassed. I thought you'd bring this up, but the fact that you haven't tells me that you don't know about it, which makes this even greater.
Okay.
It says Terry Crews
Go on.
Guess, right? Guess what about Terry Crews?
He sexually harassed a pot of yogurt.
Nope. But I get that. I'm just Googling an article so I can read it to you.
Please, no. If Terry Crews is such a nice guy, there's no way he's like fingered someone or whatever.
Well, no. Hang on, let me just get to it. Right, okay. So, have you ever heard of famous film producer Harvey Weinstein?
Of course I have. He's raped everyone.
Well, I just want to find the bit where Terry Crews is talking about what happened, because the way he explains it is incredible.
Has Weinstein raped Terry Crews?
He hasn't raped him, but...
Oh, what did he do with Terry Crews?
Let me just find the quote by him. Oh, this is really annoying that I can't find it.
You like grab his dick. I was like, I like my meat dark.
Okay, so I don't think I can find the actual quote. I've gone through like 3 reports now, but yeah, I'll paraphrase. If you want to Google it though, it's it just there's something. It's obviously very sad, but there's something amusing about the turn of events. So Terry Crews is at this party.
Okay.
Everybody's drunk, high, sniffing coke like they do in Hollywood.
And raping kids, apparently.
And Harvey Weinstein comes up to him. And the way Terry said was he was doing things with his tongue. He was just like, mouth open, tongue's doing shit. And he kept like giving him the eye and like saying like real rapey shit to him. And he said, oh, okay, I felt really uncomfortable. We're in this room full of people. And Harvey Weinstein just straight up went and grabbed his dick and kept doing tongue shit. And Terry Crews was like, "What the fuck you doing, man?" You can just imagine Terry Crews' reaction. Like it's almost like it's an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Just the way Terry Crews would react, like slapping him away, and like the face he would pull is just so Terry Crews.
Terry don't like it when people grab up on my dick.
But yeah, he's actually really disturbed by it because that is technically his workplace, and that's superior. A director just like trying to take advantage of Terry Crews.
Why get away not being snapped in two, man?
I know, that's what I don't get about it.
Large.
How do you molest Terry Crews?
Weinstein must have some serious balls, man.
I know. That's insane.
It's like fucking... It's just so massive, like... I can't think of anything to compare it to.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of things that could be misconstrued as racist. It's like taking a fucking baby from a mother ape and she goes fucking mental and like just hammer fist you to death.
That does sound a bit racist.
They're so large. I mean, you've seen a gorilla. They're massive, aren't they?
Yeah. Terry Crews isn't a gorilla though. He's fucking Terry Crews and his hench is fuck.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's so fucking ripped. I bet he could knock out a gorilla or something.
He could.
I bet a fucking elephant charge him, mate. He'll just peck thrust him in the face and it just goes down.
So I wanted to talk about this when we were talking about Professor Lupin. But have you heard about a new game that's coming out made by Niantic, who made Pokemon Go?
There's very vague things going on in my head, so great.
Harry Potter Go. So I don't know how it's going to work, but I got an email from Niantic because I have a Pokemon Go account. And
sad.
So basically you make a wizard character and you go around the world finding fuck scrolls or fuck knows what.
Is it Harry Potter or like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them?
No, it's Harry Potter, I'm fairly certain. That's what the email was, all Harry Potter brand, so...
Because I could see it working with the Fantastic Beasts thing. It's very much just Pokemon anyway, and just in the Harry Potter world.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, they've just announced the title of the second movie for that. It's called like The Crimes of Grindelwald or something like that.
Oh yeah, I think I heard that a while ago. I haven't actually seen it. Have you seen it? No. I feel like it should be good, but I've heard that it hasn't. It isn't.
Apparently Jude Law plays a young Dumbledore.
Oh, that's strange.
Yeah.
So yeah, I brought up this Harry Potter go at work, and this guy that sits across from me was like, "Oh, the Chinese will be all over that." But he's right in a way. I've been to King's Cross Station. I've seen the shopping cart sticking out of the wall, and I've seen the hordes of Asians just crowded around it, beating the fuck out of each other to try and get front of line to take a picture with a shopping cart that's cut in half and stuck to a fucking wall. But what branched off of that was he told me about this story. There's a guy in London that basically intersects Chinese tourists at that shopping cart, and he says to him, "Oh, you should go to this little village. It's great. There's where they filmed Harry Potter. Just go to this street," and he'll like give them an address. Oh, I think he might actually be a tour bus driver, so he gets them to pay him to take them to this little village where Harry Potter was filmed, except Harry Potter wasn't filmed there. It's a random village outside of London, and there's pictures online of it. I'll try and find them to show you, but obviously I can't show anybody.
How has he not like been shut down? That's like a proper shady business.
Yeah, I know. The way that the article explained it to me, it didn't seem as though anybody knew specifically where the Chinese tourists were coming from. But the theory was that there was a guy with a tour bus bringing him. So yeah, the pictures are grand. It's just these guys just walking around, going in people's gardens and pointing at flowers and shit, taking pictures. Just this fucking normal street in London. Just loads of Chinese folk.
Sat here, like in your living room with a bowl of fucking cinnamon toast, fucking what's it called, Golden Grahams, and just like proper enjoying your breakfast. You look out in your garden, there's like a gaggle of fucking Chinese people just pointing at your fucking flower.
Well, no, one of the pictures is actually taken from somebody's window of some Chinese folk stood on their driveway, just pointing at flowers in garden.
Mental.
It's fucking brilliant. So, I feel like we haven't talked enough about video games this episode. That seems like something we usually do. So, there's two games I've been playing a lot lately. Super Mario Odyssey, which we've talked about a few times. I've actually finished that, and I mean finished, because when we did the 0.5 episode, I'd finished the story.
You 100%ed it?
Okay, no, not finished, but finished.
Okay.
So, finished is when you finish the story. Finished is when you finish the 2 extra areas that you can unlock after the story. And finished is when you have all the moons, which I'm working my way to. I'm nearly there, I'm getting there. I think there's 999 moons, and I've got like nearly 700 now, so getting there. But yeah, the last level of the game is called the darker side of the moon. And you have to get like 500 moons to be able to go there. And then it's there's no moons there except for the 3 moons that you get for finishing it. And it's this insane like 15-minute long run of incredible like jumping puzzles and really difficult shit. And it took me 3 days to do it, because like each section you have to train yourself to do over and over and over again. Then you get to the next section and you've got to do that whole training process again, but every time you fail you've got to do the first section again, and there's like 14 sections and you just got to go through that process for each of them. And it was so satisfying when I finally beat it. It was such a difficult thing to do, and as I was going through it I was finding loads of like cheeses for each section, like ways to make the game easier for myself, like specific jumps you can do, or just tips that I wish I knew going in. So what I started doing was recording clips of me using those cheeses and posting them on Twitter, and there's 16 clips on there of so if you're struggling with the darker side, there's 16 posts with 14 clips. I think 2 of them are just, I'm going to tell you how to beat this level, and there you go, beat this level. But yeah, I just thought that was really cool. Like, it was really challenging. Like, it was just a huge step up from the rest of the game, and it really put to work everything that you'd learned and all the different I don't know what to call them, creatures, enemies that you could control just to get over these puzzles. And I'll show you the clips on Twitter after we've done this, because some of it was insane. But yeah, as much as it was frustrating, I never got like angry at the game, which we've talked about that a few times, where if a game's hard, it's okay if it's your fault. If it's the game's fault, then you'll just get angry and you'll never do it again.
Yeah.
But I was just so adamant that I was going to do it, because if I stopped and said, okay, I'll do it later, then I won't do it later, because I'll just always have in the back of my head, oh, that's too hard, I won't get to it. So I didn't, like, I still had plenty to do in the game, like I still do now, but I didn't want to come away from that section and just, like, leave it for last or whatever. I really wanted to finish it. And then when I got that idea of like posting tips on Twitter, I was like, well, I can't post tips until I've actually done it.
Yeah.
So that sort of motivated me to actually finish it. But yeah, it was really cool. So if anybody listening to this is struggling with that bit, then check out our Twitter at UT2cast, because there's some great tips on there.
You should totally compile that into a full video and put it on YouTube.
That's a great idea.
It is.
I'll probably not do that.
You should.
No, I will. I'll try and find time for it, though. I've got enough going on at the moment.
If someone's listening to this and like they're from the future, then they're gonna be like, "Oh, I'll go check the Twitter," and then it's like, "Fucking, obviously this happened like a year ago, or something like that." So nice to like put it on YouTube as well.
Yeah, definitely. No, yeah, you've got a good point. I will do that. Probably get. It'll be easier for people to find it on YouTube as well. So, you know, in Super Mario Odyssey, all the different sort of races of people in each kingdom, there's a different race of character. Yeah. They have their own like made up like Animal Crossing style language, which is just like a string of syllables. It sounds like they're talking. Like, they've done it really cleverly as well, because like the New Donk citizens actually sound like they're from New York, and the incredibly racist snail characters actually sound French, even though they're not actually saying anything. There's some really funny clips have come out, which I found on Twitter, of one of the voice lines in New Donk City is it sounds like they're saying, I really want to die.
Okay.
So I've got the clip here, so I'll just play it. Oh, I just want to die.
It sounded like some like African guy. I just want to die.
I just want to die. Yeah, that's great. The other game I've been playing, which you finished in like 2 days, and I've only just finished the story in the DLC pack, which is Horizon. It's been really cool. I just wish I had more time to, like, the amount of time that you had to just fucking bash it out. Yeah. Because the time I wasn't playing it, all I could think of was wanting to play it again. So I just finished the story. It was really great. There's a new NPC that they introduced. One of the new... Because the story in Horizon is that there's these AI that are basically running the world as gods would. Yeah. And the... don't know the word for it. The like primitive civilizations in Horizon actually see them as gods because they don't understand that technology. So really, cool concept.
Well, they don't really. The only person I think that knows about them is obviously Aloy. Well, no, Phylons.
For example, there are times when they've like banged on a door and AI's voice has said something.
Yeah, in the Brave, the Nora fucking...
Yeah, the mountain.
The mountain.
Yeah.
What's it called? Like, it's probably like Mother's, like All Heart or something like that, innit? And
something like that.
Yeah, when she thinks like the mountain talks to her.
Yeah, exactly. So they think that these mechanized voices are gods. Yeah. So that's then spreads and... So that's one. But yeah, there's a new AI in this. It's not one of the gods. It's actually one that was set up and then shut down before the gods were set up to save the world. I won't spoil more than that, but once you finish the story, you get a chance to talk to the AI. And I legitimately spent 15 minutes just getting as much lore out of her as I could. And it was just really cool. me and my girlfriend were glued to the TV. My girlfriend were glued to the TV, you know, like just lapping up every bit of information we could get. And like the fact that because I've completed the main story, I could talk to her about things that I now knew from the main story, which if I had like gone to that part at level 30 when they intend it, I wouldn't have been able to talk to her about that until I came back later with new information. I thought that was really cool. I really want to play the game again, but just the fact that I couldn't find time to finish this DLC makes me think I won't get time to play the game.
I'm going through it again, but not like I'm not hitting it hard. I'm like just every now and then. Like I don't think I played it in like a week.
Yeah.
But I'm going through it on ultra hard because there's 2 trophies I don't have, and it's ruining me.
Right.
Because they added a trophy for completing it on a New Game Plus.
Yeah.
Because obviously I did New Game Plus in a patch a while ago, didn't I?
I haven't done New Game Plus yet.
Completed New Game Plus on ultra hard difficulty.
That sounds fun.
So I'm doing ultra hard difficulty straight away since I'm maxed level and all that. To get those 2 trophies out of the way, and then it goes back up to 100%. Because I've already got the platinum and I've got every trophy for the new DLC, and just those 2 hold me back.
There were some really tough new machines, like the Scorcher and the Frost Claws, and
everything else was fine. It was just the Scorcher for me. It was too fast.
I couldn't. The Scorchers I figured out because you get that thing that like flamethrower for ice.
Yeah,
that thing was awesome for taking out Scorchers, and they were super easy for me once I had that. But it's the Frost Claws. I just can't get anything that beats them. And then of course there's the final boss machine, but I won't spoil what that is.
Yeah.
That took me a very long time. But what I found amazing was you can upgrade the weapons that you get from the DLC by going back and fighting a Stormbird and a Thunderjaw. And I was like, oh, this is going to be so hard. They're such tough creatures. I remember from when I was playing the game before that they're really hard. 2 minutes tops on both of them.
Yeah.
So easy. It was crazy. Because this DLC is set in like Frozen Wilds, as the DLC is called, there's a lot more snow.
Yeah, and it actually clings to you as well.
Yeah, I legitimately, right, you can ask my girlfriend because she can attest to this. I spent a good 10 minutes rolling around in the snow, playing in the snow. When you get to the deep snow, the snow physics are incredible.
Yeah.
Like in any other game, you're running through snow, it'll just kick up a dust cloud, snow cloud. But if you think about it, that's not how snow actually works. If you kick snow, it actually goes out in clumps. And that really happens in Horizon. If you run in one direction and then turn around really quickly, it'll kick out these clumps of snow, and then those clumps of snow will hit the snow on the ground and create holes. And it's like so realistic, and there's these like clouds that come up as well, obviously. But her footsteps are in the snow, and she runs a very. It's a most game developers would avoid this animation for her running because it's really goofy. Like she's got her legs really wide and she's like bouncing from foot to foot. But it's realistic, and it shows that she's struggling to run through this deep snow. And that's something my girlfriend commented on, was like she liked how realistic it was, that the way she was running through the snow. It's such a silly thing to get so excited about the snow physics in a game, but I don't think I've seen anything that good before.
I'm trying to think back to Uncharted-2. They had pretty good snow physics, didn't they? Like, but it was the game was a long time ago on it, so it was probably not.
No, I remember that. Yeah, when that scene where where the game starts basically, and you see the snow clinging to his model, and you're like, oh my god, this is the future. But yeah, I just can't express how much I thought the snow physics were incredible. Just like rolling around in them.
I just enjoyed making snow angels.
Yeah, you could do that. That was really cool.
It was very good. And the deformation in the snow as well, when the light hit it and stuff. It was.
Yeah, exactly. Just the trail that you leave, the way that the polys on the snow like deforms to leave like a trench, and that trench is built in real time, which is what's so crazy about it. And so that's what I mean when I said I was playing around this snow. I was literally just diving and rolling, and like if you find a deep enough slope, you can just slide and keep sliding down the mountain, leaving this big trail behind you.
Yeah, that's what I like to do. I like to like sprint at full speed and then hit square, so you do a massive knee slide, and then just turn around and look at the big section of snow you carved out.
Yeah, it's really I don't know. It's silly, but I think it's really cool. I'm impressed by the technology.
Well, those guys did. Was it Killzone? So like they've always been really good at visuals.
Yeah.
As much as I want a fan of the new Killzone for the PlayStation 4, you know, it was the game that like was a launch title.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't impressed with it. It was just a standard shooter and stuff. It looked great though. It looked brilliant and beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously Guerrilla Games have always been really good at visuals, and so it surprised me how well the snow was. But I was like, oh, I expected that from them anyway. Like,
right. Well, I never played Killzone, but I heard that when I found out that Horizon was made by the same people, I was slightly shocked because of all the bad things I'd heard about the direction that Killzone games went in.
Seems like developers are doing like more risky stuff these days. Like, Sucker Punch have pretty much, you know, they've been doing Infamous for ages, haven't they? Now,
Mm-hmm.
Now they're doing this thing called Ghost of
that looks really good.
Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima. And that looks pretty fun. They said it themselves. Like, I can't believe no one's ever done this before. No one's ever made like an open world game set in feudal Japan.
Yeah, I know.
It's like such a brilliant place.
Exactly.
I'm excited just for I know nothing about it apart from it's an open world game in feudal Japan, and I want to play it now.
Yeah, when I first heard about the game, I was like, oh, what an original concept. And then I waited a few minutes, I was like, how is that an original concept? How has nobody done that yet?
Exactly. You just expect it. I mean, there have been games set in feudal Japan and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's been plenty.
I think one of my favourites I ever played was for Vita, Muramasa Rebirth.
Oh, yeah.
I like
that was
game.
a good game.
I keep meaning to plat that, but it's got such a tall list of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like developers are making, I don't want to say like decent games, because the games in the recent like 10 years have been pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like they're doing more like risky stuff and stuff so that they want to develop and not like what they've been told to develop. Like, obviously Activision tells whatever fucking team they've got under their wing, like, go make this new Call of Duty for us.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And it just seems like there's people making games that they haven't been told to make, you know, like, you know what I'm trying to say, like, they're doing it because they want to do it.
Exactly. The passion is back into game design.
It just feels like there's more passion being poured into it.
There was a long period of time where, like I remember once I messaged you like middle of the night and I was like, dude, I'm worried about the future of gaming. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that.
Like, I just had this realization of how corporate video games had become, and like all the games we were looking forward to had turned out, like Battlefront turned out to be shit. What was the other one? Fallout 4. I was so hyped for that, and it was just such a big disappointment. And you could see that the passion was lost, and it was just like this big corporate shell of a game. And
it's not a bad game.
I'm excited that it's that the game industry is recovering from.
Not 100%. There's still like microtransactions in single player games now. Shit like that.
Well, I mean, it seems like video game development teams are being given more opportunity to explore what they want to do, rather than having to rely on finding a publisher like EA or Activision.
It seems like publishers will keep trying to do their publisher shit, like charging real money for in-game items in a single-player game, shit like that.
Trying to find an algorithm for money.
Yes.
And then pushing it through a game.
I told you about that. Was it Activision? It was either Activision or Call of Duty or EA, something like that. I think it might have been Activision. I think it was for Call of Duty. But they developed an algorithm to matchmake you with people that have spent real life money on cosmetics and weapons and stuff like that, so that you can see them and be like, oh, I want that gun and or whatever, and then you put down real money for it.
Yeah.
And that's just a shady practice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like publishers are always gonna want to do shit like that, and so I don't think we've seen the last of this whole in-game monetization bullshit that's you know, blowing a fire up EA's ass at the moment. But I do think that developers have seen, maybe like Ninja Theory, they released their own game, and it was like a AAA experience, but on a really small scale.
Yeah.
You know, Senua's Sacrifice. And I think that's kind of like woken the industry up a bit, and people are starting to realise that they don't have to do everything the publishers fucking tell them to do. They can do things that they want to do, go off on their own, and make an open world game in feudal Japan, or shit like that. I'm excited for it.
Me too.
Because I know you like that. Days Gone. You're not as excited for it as I am.
Yeah, I don't know why. I feel like if it was 10 years ago, I'd have been jerking my little ding dong over it. But I think I've been excited about zombie games in the past, and I've always been disappointed by them.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think it's going to be a fucking game of the year instantly when it's released, but I do think it's going to be a good experience at the very least. So,
speaking of something I would have jerked my little ding dong over 10 years ago, Assassin's Creed Origins came out last week. Well, last week for us right now, but in the podcast whenever it came out. I actually want to get it because it looks like because I played. I can't remember what the one I played was called. It was in France.
Unity.
Yeah, and they'd fixed a lot of things that were wrong with it, with Assassin's Creed as a whole. But at the same time, they broke the game. They broke their engine, and there was a lot of glitches and bugs. And then you played the one that's set in London.
Syndicate.
Yeah, and you told me that was actually quite good.
Yeah, it was alright.
But Assassin's Creed Origins is the Assassin's Creed game that I wanted 6 Assassin's Creed games ago, and it actually looks really, really fun. But also at the same time, I'm so apprehensive because Ubisoft have all these horrible traits that they always drag into their games. Yeah, like climbing watchtowers and finding shit that you don't need to find, like in the flags in Assassin's Creed. I didn't give a shit. Exactly.
The only reason I ever looked for them was because there was an achievement attached to it.
So I want to get it, but I don't want to get pulled into... Because I have like a very completionist mindset. If I get into a game, then I want to do it all. Like with Super Mario Odyssey, I have absolutely no reason to go and get the other 390 moons that I haven't got yet, but I'm going to do it anyway. I don't want to get pulled into that with an Assassin's Creed game and just waste so much time getting these fucking inconsequential fucking flags. So yeah, I haven't actually heard anything about it. I haven't seen anyone going, "Oh, this game's amazing. You need to play it," like I had with games like Mario. And
I have. I've heard people are really liking the new combat system. It's not just like wait for someone to attack you and you parry and you've killed them. Like you've actually got to lock onto him, dodge, know when to do a heavy attack. You block and all that shit.
Okay,
plus
sounds cool.
You don't just have the same items throughout, and then like you can buy a new weapon. That's the only thing different about it is it looks different.
Yeah.
Like in this one, it's like an RPG inventory system. Like you'll get purple items, which obviously are like super rare items, like legendary quality and stuff like that.
That's cool.
I've heard some good things about it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get it, but like I said to you earlier today, I'm trying to, because I'm not the wealthiest of men, so I'm trying to budget myself to
one game a month,
and so I don't want to just buy Assassin's Creed and then not like there be another game that I want, but I have to wait another month for it, sort of thing. Like I'll have to really want Assassin's Creed and be sure that I have time to invest.
You're gonna be pretty fucked in 2018. There's a lot of games that are gonna come out.
Tell me about it.
So many.
I'm sure I'll make exceptions. Like if The Last of Us comes out at the same time as something awesome for Switch or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been trying. My new aim is to keep the podcast to an hour, and we've gone like 15 minutes over.
Okay.
But we were having a great conversation. I didn't want to cut it short. So, thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed it. We really appreciate you taking the time to join our conversation. And you can find us on Twitter at UT2cast. You can find us on our website at ut2cast.podbean.com, and you can find us on YouTube under Untitled-2 podcast.
Yeah, that's everything in it.
Yeah, that's it all. I didn't forget this time.
We need to write it down and just have it like printed out.
Well, I wanted
put
to
on
get
the
a whiteboard for the room, so we can like put notes for the episode, things that we don't want to forget
we
to
just
talk
ended
about.
up drawing crude pictures on it.
Well, we did have a small whiteboard, but it was fucking useless. And I can't actually put things on the wall because it's a rented apartment. But I was gonna get you can get whiteboard sheets. I was gonna get one of those and just like blue tack it, and then we can write on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that was you didn't need to know about that at all. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.